Welcome back. Here we are, freaking 2020. Like, what? Okay, real quick, who remembers Y2K though? Honestly, we all survived and lasted another 20 years. It's nuts. And what's even more nuts is that was 20 years ago. Like, that makes me feel so old, but I also feel so young. So now I kind of just feel bipolar. Well, anyway, I'm excited for this season. I'm excited to keep going, to talk to more people, to share more perspective, more encouragement, more stories, more inspiration, more life. And it's only fitting that we start the new year and this new season with an episode on New Year's resolutions. So let's get into it. But before I do that, I have a quick ad. Yes, we have our first ad. So don't skip this part. I can still smell the first powdered compact I ever bought. I was in 6th grade, CoverGirl shade porcelain. It left my skin like flawless, powdery finished on already flawless baby skin. I mean, I was 11 years old. Like, what did I need to cover up? Nothing. I grew up and I became obsessed with makeup. Like, I moved on to the higher end stuff like MAC when I was in high school. Every single day, I would drench my face in boiled roadkill, formaldehyde, asbestos, parabens, talc, heavy metals, artificial fragrance, you know, all the other cancer-causing, endocrine-disrupting ingredients. Like, do you feel sick to your stomach yet? Honestly, I wore toxic-filled makeup for the last 25 years of my life. But the last 10 of those 25 years, I was fully aware how toxic it was. But beauty is pain, and it's also gross, and it's also the price we pay for perfect shaped eyebrows, am I right? Until you have 2 daughters who want to play in your makeup, until you read the statistics of record high levels of cancer and infertility, and how fast toxins are absorbed into your bloodstream through your skin. So last year, I was like, all right, I'm on a mission. We have some cleaning up to do. And I've tried countless non-toxic products throughout the years. And my biggest hurdle has always been finding something that is both safer and effective. And then I tried Beautycounter. And for the first time, I have been truly happy with not only what the company stands for. I mean, the owner has testified before the Supreme Court to demand safer testing on cosmetics, for crying out loud. Like, did you know that the FDA hasn't changed cosmetic laws in 80 years? 80 freaking years! So Beautycounter took it into their own hands and they banned over 1,500 harmful chemicals from ever being used in their products. Chemicals which are found in all of those fancy products that we're spending so much money on just to rack up all the points at Ulta, which makes Beautycounter products just a safer and cleaner option. Another fun fact is that they use third-party testing for transparency purposes. They triple test for heavy metals, there's no testing on animals, and they're just constantly testing their products through other measures. I could go on and on. There's so much greatness. So I became a consultant. As a licensed cosmetologist, it's my job to recommend products, and I could no longer feel good about recommending products that I knew just weren't safe. So I've partnered with Beautycounter to help spread the word, to educate, and to offer cleaner, safer products in the hands of everyone. So if you're wanting to clean up your makeup or your skincare routine, go to my website at www.beautycounter.com/Cassandra Lau. That's spelled CASSANDRALAU. Do you got a pen? You might want to pause this to get a pen. You can also shop as a customer, or you can become a Beauty Band member for $29, which is just an annual fee, just like a Costco membership. There's no requirements to purchase, just rewards when you do. So for the first year, you get 10% back on products purchased and free shipping on orders over 100. And when you sign up, you get a free product. It's super cool. So for more information about the company, again, you can go to beautycounter.com/Cassandra Lau. Welcome to the Beautifully Intentional podcast, where I share stories to encourage you to live a more intentional life. Whether it's in your motherhood journey, your friendships, your 9-to-5 job, or pursuing just radical dreams. I believe that sometimes we can just get stuck in the mundane craziness of life, and all it takes is one encouraging word to give us hope to live for something greater. I share stories of living intentional through the simple things like self-care, clean spaces, parenthood, and going after your dreams. My hope is that at the end of every episode, there's a fire set deep within your soul that says, I can do this. And that maybe today is your day to find the beauty in the things that go unnoticed and start living a more intentional life. This is Cassandra Lau, and welcome to Beautifully Intentional. Okay, the New Year's. Who else loves New Year's? I feel like there's two kinds of people in the world. There's those who love New Year's. They love making the list of resolutions, signing up for the gym, making a financial plan, a meal plan, a weight goal, a life goal. They buy the new yoga pants, the spinach, a new planner, a budget tracker, all the things. And then there's those who hate, like those who have all the resolutions, right? And I totally get both sides. Honestly, I do. Like on one hand, I love New Year's. I do. It feels like a fresh start. It just feels so fresh. It's like a restart. You can just look at all your failures through the last year and you get the chance to just start over. It's just a fresh invitation. It's permission to dream again. The motivation is there. Purpose that like makes you come alive. Like right now, like I feel pumped, right? But then I also get the opposite side, and that's that like you don't need a new year to have purpose for your life, right? Or to pursue your purpose. You don't need a new year to take care of your health. You don't need a new year to get your finances right. Each and every day is a freaking gift. Like grace is new every single day. Opportunities available every single day. You don't need a new year to change your life. Like there's nothing magical that happens when the clock strikes midnight on New Year's Eve. Your life doesn't get magically better. Your circumstances don't get magically easier. You wake up in the same season of life on January 1st as you went to bed with on December 31st. So like, what's the point, right? So I get that. I get that feeling. And it's like, I don't know, so much of life happens to us that is out of our control. So why set these lofty goals for a future that is unseen when we have no clue what obstacles are going to be thrown our way? You know what I mean? So like, why make a list of these things that we want to do just so we can fail because life is going to happen? So I get both sides, but even still, there's just something to be said about intentions that are set, right? Like getting your mind in the right place to be able to tackle those hardships head on, to get those habits set in place to avoid some of those quote unquote failures. And spoiler alert, next episode, if it's not next episode, it'll be the one after that, but is going to be about why I use air quotes on failures, because that needs its own episode altogether. So anyway, here we are. The new day, the new year, the new decade, all colliding at once. So let's just make the very best of it, shall we? Like, why not, right? Like I said, nothing magical happens on January 1st. January 1st actually feels exactly like December 13th or August 8th or any other day. The motivation might be there on January 1st, but motivation is fleeting. It's nothing tangible. It's not something you can touch. Like, we have to decide that what we want to change in our lives, like that is a decision that we have to make whether we feel like it or not. Like true change requires discipline, not a new day, not a new year, but actual discipline in the face of being unmotivated. However, here we are at the top of this new year and this new decade. So why not set the intentions? So let's get to it. Let's take advantage of the fresh motivation that is at least here temporarily just to get those goals set and get those goals aligned with what we want our life to look like. And so at least the intention is there. So when the hardships do come and life does happen and that motivation flees, we at least know what we want our life to look like. So we know what we're going after. You know what I mean? So yeah. Okay. So quick story. So my daughter, she was in the shower the other day and we were just chit-chatting away. Totally random. She's like washing her hair. It's all sudsy. And she's like, "Hey mom, how many hours are in a year?" And I'm like, "Dude, I have no idea." She's like, "Can you ask Siri?" And I was so annoyed because it's bedtime, it's the witching hour, and if you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And for me personally, I am the worst version of myself, especially the worst version of my motherly self at night during that witching hour. So anyways, I was annoyed, but I was like, "Okay, hey Siri, how many hours are in a year?" And then she like replies, 8,760. So then I said, so I told my daughter and she was like, "Oh man, that's crazy. Okay, ask Siri how many minutes are in a year." And now I was like less annoyed because I was actually kind of curious. So I said, "Hey Siri, how many minutes are in a year?" And she replies with 5,250 or 525,600 minutes. And then it hit me like, isn't there a song? 525,600 minutes. Anyways, dude, 525,600 minutes are in a year. 8,760 hours. Like in that moment, I got convicted. I'm not kidding you. Like we are all given the same amount of hours and minutes. And here we are, we have another year. And how the heck are we going to use those hours and minutes? You know what I mean? So I'm sitting there like mind blown as she's like showering. I'm sitting here with my phone and Siri like, dang. So then it got me thinking, like, let's just break it down. Okay. So assuming that we all work 40 hours a week. Now, I know that some work more, some work less. If you're a mom, you work 24 hours a day, no break, no vacation. But for argument's sake, let's just say we all work 40 hours a week. That's 2,080 hours a year that are given to work, assuming you get no vacay. So let's also assume that we all get 7 hours of sleep at night. Again, if you're a mom, you're probably averaging about 3 hours of sleep at night, but for the sake of easy math, we all get 7 hours. So that's 2,548 hours of sleep a year. So work and sleep total is like 4,628 hours a year, which means on average, and I understand this isn't everyone's life, but for the average person who works 40 hours a week, sleeps 7 hours a night, we have 4,132 hours left over in the year. That breaks down to like 79 hours every single week that is left over after a 40-hour work week and sleeping for 7 hours. Like, what the heck are you doing with your idle time, right? Now, this number might not be your reality, okay? I get that. But I encourage you to find out what that number is for you. Like, take a look at last year and how many hours you worked and how many hours you slept on average, and think about how many hours are left over every single week, and look at how you spend your idle time, especially if you feel like you don't have time. Like when I look at my own life, I look at my year and I'm like, dang, I mostly feel like I don't have time because I multitask my way through life and I'm doing everything at the same time and not really focusing on anything that like any one thing that needs undivided attention. And I know this is true because when I set my own 10-minute timer, I am always surprised at how much I can get done in just 10 minutes of uninterrupted, focused time. And I know this is true for some of you too, so many of you actually, because the amount of people who will tag me when they use a 10-minute timer is unreal. Honestly, it's unreal. When I did a poll on Instagram of what your guys' is like top 10, whatever, like, or your favorite episode or whatever, the 10-minute timer one was like near the top. Since then, I've recorded some other episodes that have like totally struck a chord with so many people. But at the time, that was like after I did my first 10 episodes, and the 10-minute timer one, for whatever reason, was like hands down everyone's favorite. And since then, so many people, they'll send me messages like, oh my gosh, like I was just stuck in my day and I set that 10-minute timer, or my kitchen was a disaster, so I set that 10-minute timer. Like I get messages all the time, and I get it because I do multitask my way through life. When I actually stop, I set that 10-minute timer, I get so much more done when I'm focusing on one thing at a time. So one of my New Year's resolutions this year is to just shift how I spend my time. Like getting real intentional about scheduling out how I spend my time. So that includes when I get on social media, when I schedule appointments for my clients, when I reply to my clients. Like so it may look different how I post or when I reply to clients or all of that. I mostly just want to change this because my phone is glued to my hand between connecting, admin, writing, business, personal. Look, I use my phone for everything, and honestly, I don't like it. And if there's anything that you don't like about your life, then fix it. Look at your life and see what you can control. You can't control everything. There's so much that's out of our control, but whatever we can control, it's our responsibility to take control, right? So in the midst of my busy life, I just want to slow down. Like, guys, I'm a mom, a wife, I'm self-employed hairstylist, I'm a makeup consultant, a podcaster, a house cleaner, a cook, a tutor, like you name it. The only person we hire around here is a gardener. We do everything else. And the truth is, like, slowing down kind of gives me anxiety. Like, it always has. Even when I was a teenager and I didn't have as much responsibilities, I was just constantly just go, go, go. The second I would start to slow down, I would feel anxious. And even now, like, I've never been the kind of person that can just sleep in all day, like, or just lay around in bed all day. Sleeping in to me is like 7:30 a.m. Like once a year, it's like 8 a.m. I can't think of a time in my adult life that I've ever watched TV during the day. Like I just can't do it. Like I can check in on social media, but that's as far as like mindless activity that I do during the day. And half the time social media is also wrapped up in business. So I'm like still working. So I don't know. I just can't. It literally gives me anxiety to sit down and do nothing, like quote unquote productive. But when I'm feeling that anxiety, when I'm trying to rest, I know that anxiety is not supposed to be there. Like I should be able to rest and truly rest. So I know it's a problem. Because I even feel it when like my kids are talking to me, and I know if like there's something that I need to do and they're telling me a story that takes way too long, I should be able to just pause and listen to them with intention. Like, but it doesn't, I don't know, but I can't. Like the story takes way too long and I'm like, all I'm thinking about is all the things I need to get done. But, so I don't like that feeling, and I want that feeling to go away. So I'm going to work on it this year, just getting real intentional about scheduling my time and focusing on like one task at a time. And just like focusing on slowing down, like eating slower, walking slower, just taking a breath here or there. Doesn't mean that like my life is like things are going to get taken off my plate, because I can't see how that will happen. I just know that like I just need to manage my time better. So I'm going to implement some tools that I have. I'm going to get real intentional about slowing down somehow, and I'll let you know how it goes. I'll like check in 3 months. Actually, I'll probably show you the system that I'm going to use on Instagram. So if you're listening to this and you don't follow me there, it's beautifully intentional. For some of you, setting intention looks like adding things to your life, like trying something new, tackling that project, hustling at work. And for some of you, it may look like slowing the heck down and saying no and pausing and resting and getting more sleep and just slowing down. And I'm here to give you permission that giving you permission that slowing down is also productive, right? And that actually might just be a topic that gets its own episode too. So we'll see. Okay, I also want to continue to take care of my health. And that is something that will always be a New Year's resolution because it's so easy to fall into old convenient habits, right? So this one will always be a top priority every year when I look at my life. No matter what, this will always be on the top priority. Like, how can I improve my health even more? Like, continuing to cut out toxic things out of my life. You know what's actually crazy is that last year, my New Year's resolution was to stop drinking Diet Coke. So for the first 3 months of the year, I totally kicked it. And I knew that I wanted to commit to not having it for 3 months straight so that I could at least break the craving and the addiction. You know what I mean? I knew that when I was cutting it out, I knew that I would allow myself to have it every once in a while after the 3 months if I wanted it. Well, having it every once in a while turned into having it a little more often, which then turned into having it again, like probably once or twice a week, which isn't crazy. And I'm not a daily Diet Coke drinker, and I wasn't a daily Diet Coke drinker to begin with, but definitely consuming more than any human body should. So the latter part of the year, I started getting all the same like physical symptoms that I would get when I wouldn't drink it in the past, or would drink it and then stop drinking it. So, okay, that was confusing. But like, if I had Diet Coke for a few days in a row, then the first day that I didn't have it, I would get a migraine every single time. Or like, I would get a caffeine headache, or just things like that. So honestly, toward the end of last year, all it took for me, because I was back to drinking it regularly, I read this article that there was a link to lymphoma and aspartame. Some study that was done for the last 22 years said that like aspartame is directly linked to lymphoma. And I had just lost my dear friend to lymphoma, and she was an avid Diet Coke drinker. Not to say that Diet Coke is what gave her cancer. Like, that is not what I'm saying at all. I have no idea what gave her cancer. But like, at the end of the day, I'm consuming something that I know has been proven to cause cancer. And watching her fight for her life, it's not something that I want to do with my own life. Like, I don't. Watching her fight was like the hardest thing I've ever witnessed in my life. And that's not something I want to sign up for. And then I don't want my kids to have to go through what my friends' kids have to go through, right? So anyways, there was kind of like that light bulb moment of like, yep, nope, I don't need it anymore. Nope. So it's just not worth it. But anyway, so there's other things that I want to focus on health-wise. It literally has nothing to do with weight. Like, I'm at a weight that I'm perfectly comfortable with. I've been way leaner in my life. I've also carried way more weight in my life. At the end of the day, I don't really care what I weigh right now. I don't have a weight goal, but I do have like a real health goal. Like, get down to the bottom of some issues that I've been having. And I want to get down to the bottom of them. And I know that just looking deeper into like my health is just something I want to focus on this year. Anyways, I know another major focus this year for us is going to be finances. It like literally hurts my brain to even try and figure out how to get ahead, because I feel like, so me and Dustin have been self-employed for 10 years, and we've never had a single solid paycheck for 10 years. And we get paid daily, basically, like some random amount. I work 3 to 4 days a week, sometimes 5. When Square goes through, sometimes I get it that day. Sometimes I get a portion of payments that are processed after 5 p.m. the next day. And then like payments that are processed on Saturday, I get paid on Monday. But then my husband gets paid once a month from one company. He gets paid random jobs will randomly come in. He gets random royalties. He gets like everything is random. Every single thing. Every single day is a different amount, and we get paid daily. And then on top of that, the income can change in a second. So I can plan my week. I can at least look at my week and say, these are the clients I have booked. These are the jobs that we know Dustin is getting paid for. And then all it takes is one cancellation, throws off our entire budget. Or all it takes is one producer saying like, oh, we're behind on payment, and not pay Dustin for 2 months. Like, it's completely random, right? So, and then I feel like when you have kids, it's like there's always something random that pops up that you weren't planning on. That can, and that can happen as an adult too. But when the more kids you have, like the more odds are against you. But I know there has to be a way. Every single time we sit down to try to figure out how to budget accordingly, my brain physically hurts. And I haven't had that like light bulb moment of like, this is the plan that was made for us, you know? But we're gonna try a few things. There's a few things that I want to try this year, but my major goal is just to get out of like old debt. We haven't put ourselves into new debt. It's just this old debt that we've like ignored because it's just too hard to tackle. But this year I'm going to do it. So I'll check in like 3 months. I actually set the intention for the last 3 months of the year? I think it was. The last 3 months of the year was to focus on saving as much as possible. And as you could imagine, that during the holidays, that didn't go well. So just like so many things came up that we just didn't plan for because I didn't know they were going to come up. It's so frustrating. But anyway, so for those of you who have a financial goal, I am with you, sister. Like I am with you. We can do this, right? We can do this. So I'm here for it. So those are just some of my goals, some outward things that I want to focus on, but there's also like looking inward, like what are some areas that I can change about myself, and not change in a bad way, but like change in a good way, you know? For example, okay, so I did an episode on why we don't use Instacart and things like that. You can go back and listen to that episode if you want to. I don't remember what one it was. I don't know, but I'm sure you could I think it was like called something about not sacrificing human connection or trading convenience for human connection, something like that. I really should have this information before I hit record, but anyways, when I was writing up that specific episode, I was thinking about a friend specifically who I know uses Instacart, Amazon Prime, like all the delivery services. And I was so worried that I would offend her or people like her. Like I tried to make it very clear in the episode how like I personally just don't use like ordering services and delivery services and things like that because I like to take that opportunity to teach my kids how to be patient in a grocery store, like how to pick out food in a grocery store, just the benefits of being inconvenienced, that like being inconvenienced actually teaches us so much. And that's where character grows and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, I know that for some people, they are inconvenienced in so many other areas of their life, and they use like other things to teach their children, and that delivery services are life-saving to them, and they invest in human connection in other areas, and they use delivery services as a means of survival. So it wasn't like a judgment. It was just more me sharing my perspective on not allowing inconveniences to mess with human connection. Anyways, she wrote me and she said, ha ha ha, I'm literally listening to this episode as my Instacart is being delivered. And I told her how she was like the very person that I was thinking about when I was writing up that episode, and that I hope she wasn't offended. And she assured me that my heart came across clear. It was not offensive at all. But then she said something that really struck me, and it hasn't left me. Like she said, even if it was, it's okay to offend people. It's okay to have an opinion and to be passionate about that opinion and to stand up for what you believe in. People may not agree with it, and that's okay. And man, is that hard for me. Like my whole life, I've just looked to see other people's perspective and never wanting to offend, like and particularly because I'm a people pleaser, like that's part of it, but also partially because I know that I don't always know the full story to anyone's life or anyone's situation. So I always want to be fair in my opinions because like at the end of the day, like I don't know the full picture. So my opinion can only go so far when I'm giving my opinion about a scenario that I don't even know the full story, right? And I just don't want to offend people at the end of the day. But she's right. Like, there is still room for my opinion. And it doesn't mean that it's right for everyone's life, but it's okay if I have an opinion that might be offensive. Like, there are some things that I just avoid talking about on social media altogether because I have zero interest in getting in a debate over. But I know that there's a few things that I do want to talk more about, even if they may be controversial, simply because I think that they need to be talked about. And for some people, this isn't a problem at all. Like, it doesn't take a New Year's resolution for you. You don't need a brand new year just to share your opinion. But for me, it's hard. And it's something that I'm going to work on this year. And it's just to be a little bit more okay with standing up with what I believe in, even if I know it may not be a popular opinion, things like that. Anyways, so those are some of my goals, some external stuff, some internal stuff, and what else? Oh, do you guys ever get a word for the year? I do. I started doing this like several years ago. 2 years ago, it was the word intentional and just making things a priority that need to be a priority. Last year was grind. I knew that I was going to take another level of hard work to get things off the ground that I wanted to just get off the ground, like starting this podcast, for example. I knew that I was just going to have to grind at work to like make the money that I wanted to make. I knew that I was going to have to grind to get this podcast off the ground. Like, I just knew that there was I don't know, I needed to grind. So this year, my word is focus. And I just want to hardcore focus in on things that I want to change or improve, and they require that I focus on them. And just getting intentional about the level of focus that I have on these specific goals. Otherwise, they're just going to get buried with all the other stuff that needs to get done. It was actually kind of interesting because so at the end of every year, me and Dustin go out on a date and we recap the year. And we just talk about our wins and our losses and kind of just like what we're feeling for the new year. And I asked Dustin, I said, do you have a new word or do you have a word for the new year? And he said, no, do you? And I'm like, no, I haven't really given it much thought. And I said, the only thing I can think of is like, I don't know why, I don't know how this makes sense, but I just feel focus. Like, I just need to focus on some things. I feel like I have so many things that are always swirling in my mind and so many plates that are spinning and so many things that I want to do. And I just feel like I need to focus. And he was like, well, that's probably your word then. And then, the next day he was like, remember how your word is focus? Isn't it crazy that we're going into the year 2020? Like, get it? Like 2020 vision, focus. And I'm like, oh, dang. So anyway, that's my word for the year. If you don't get a word for the year, that's cool too. You don't need a word for the year in order for your year to go great. But it is kind of just a cool thing to do, just to narrow down what you want to focus on. No pun intended, but just what you want to focus on, Anyway, so for you, whether you love the New Year's resolutions or not, whatever you want to call them, it's a good time to just sit down, examine your life, look at the things that you're working on, look at the things that are working in your life, look at the things that aren't working, look at the things that you want to change, look at the things that you don't want to change that are actually going great, and just set intention for this new year, just to overcome those obstacles that have been in your way, that have been holding you back, whether it's your health or your finances or pursuing dreams or making new friends or setting healthy boundaries, whatever it looks like. I encourage you to take this opportunity, this new year that you have been given, just to set intention for your life. Life is so dang short, man. Like, next year is not promised. Truly, next year is not promised. So why not get intentional with each and every single day that you are given? It can be just one thing. Just one small change can ripple into such a large impact in your life. So I'll check in 3 months. I'll let you know where I'm at. You hit me up on Instagram. You let me know where you're at. And we'll just see where we're all at in like a couple months from now. All right, until next time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope that you found this episode inspiring or encouraging and just life-giving. And as always, I appreciate any and all positive feedback, keynote positive feedback. So tag me and message me, go on iTunes and leave a review, rate, subscribe, because that's how podcasts stay alive. And I didn't even mean to rhyme there, so that works. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at beautifully.intentional, and that's where I hang out. That's where you can kind of see me in my own personal life. And yeah, so thank you so much for listening in. Until next time.